بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. We spoke last time about حقوق, the right of children. I will not talk about the right of the parents because our topic is about parenting. I touched on the rights of the parents for the sake of showing the relationships are based in Islam on rights and duties. So my right towards you, it's your duty towards me. Your rights, upon me is my duty towards you. And we spoke about many of the duties of the parents, which are the rights of the children on the parents. And we spoke about understanding childhood and the growth of a child and how a human being evolves, and why parents need to be aware of their child's mental state, environment, also progress, or what we call, of course, development. And there are even doctors who are specialized within the, pediatry, the medical specialty in children. There is developmental, pediatrician, which is specifically on how the child grows and develops, not only physically, mentally as well. So the father or the mother are responsible for that child. And believe me, the relationship between the child and his mother will affect their relationship when they are old. And the same thing is said, the relationship with of the child with his father will affect that child relationship with all men in his life. And there has been clinical studies on this very issue. You can find many academic papers proving this point, that the first woman in your life, here is your mother, will have a stamp on your mind, and it will be manifested in your relationship with all the women in your life, including your wife and your daughter. And the relationship with your father also will have a stamp on your relationship with other men, including your son, And this is very important to understand. That's very important because at the end of the day, time flies and only memories remain in our hearts, engraved in our minds and hearts, because they do affect our hearts as well. And you want good memory when it comes to the stage. A lot of people say, I hate my childhood. When we were children, would you like to do this? Something impossible. Would you like to come back to childhood? Many people tell you, I wish I could become a child again, don't know no problems, and fix some of the things so I can be a better adult. And some people say, no, don't bring that. I hate my childhood because of traumas, bad experience. It's unhealthy childhood. And unfortunately, it leaves a mark on the person's attitude towards many things, many people. So, what are the 4 or 5 things we would like to focus on tonight to help us with parenting from, of course, Islamic, psychological perspective, or we call psychospiritual, analysis, which is totally different from what you would expect, because it takes revelation as a resource, but also takes the human experience and psychology as the field for practicing those principles. We talk about mercy. Islam says exercise mercy. But have you practiced mercy in your relationship, and what was the result? So clinically speaking, experience, especially in the scientific way, you speak about mercy, but I have never seen mercy. This is what people say. Like the story I mentioned earlier in Jumu'ah, that the girl was forced to marry at the age of 16 with a man who was her father's age. She did not want. Of course, the father thought that he was acting Islamically because he thought, but that was his culture, they forced their daughters. As a matter of fact, in some cultures, you will not believe, brothers or relatives give their children for marriage and they're still children. For instance, you have a daughter Fatima and I have a son Ali. I say Fatima is for Ali and you say Ali is for Fatima. Bismillah. They do this in some cultures. So Fatima and Ali are condemned to marry whether they like each other or not. That's not Islam. It has been practiced for many centuries among people. And now the youth say, why do I have to marry because of my parents' choice? They say, you are disobeying. Allah says, obey your parents. And obeying parents is second after worshiping Allah alone. So they teach them that this is part of obeying your parents, and if you don't obey them, you're going to go to hell. But that's just mixing the truth with falsehood. Obeying your parents, but the right to choose whom you marry belongs to you. You can show respect. Your mother could help you, your father, but they cannot impose on you a marriage. What did she do, this girl? And who told me this? The non-Muslim lady who asked me a question yesterday. She says, I know a woman, you are talking about women in Islam and how Islam honors them and how you say the heaven lies beneath the feet of the mother, and how you say that the best amongst you are those who are good to their wives. And you also said that the more daughters you have, the more you go to Jannah. But I know a Muslim woman who just left Islam, and when she was asked why, she said, because I hate Islam, I hate my father, he forced me to marry a man of the same age as him. He was much older, 3 times my age. Now we have to sit down and see, obeying the parents is good, but is that really obeying the parents? Forcing a girl at 16 to marry against her will? You can't say that is Islam. You see how Islam gets the blame? And people use culture and say, no, Islam, in the name of obeying. No. So that's just the point. So let's talk about these 4 or 5 points if we have time. And they are as follows. A child is born pure. And when the child is born pure, means he is natural, ala al-fitra. There is something called natural disposition. We call it in Arabic al-fitra, the natural way. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, كل مولود يولد على الفطرة فأبواه يهودانه أو ينصرانه أو يمجسانه. Every child is born naturally, like how Allah wants us to be, natural. And Islam is the religion of fitra, of Islam. فطرة الله التي فطر الناس عليها. Allah says Islam is deen al-fitra. But his parents could make him this religion or that religion or that. So the natural way is Islam. And keeping things naturally, Islam. So the parents, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, it is the parents that change the belief or enforce that belief or enhance that belief in their children. That's number 1. We're going to talk about. Okay. Number 2. Everything starts with mercy and kindness. Mercy begins home. I have an article, you can go to the website of this center or my website, and it's called Mercy Begins Home. Even Allah spoke about the physical in chapter 7. فلما تغشاها حملت حملا خفيفا فمرت به. Surah Al-A'raf, Allah speaking about the man and woman in their natural way as they come together physically. It's a merciful connection. See how the Quran speaks about it and how the culture speaks about that. Allah speaks of it as a beautiful, merciful connection. Culture speaks about lust and desire and tension and heat, you know, and infatuation and all of this. The Quran speaks about it differently. Subhanallah. That's number 2, mercy. Number 3, parents lead by example. The children will follow their role models. Like I said, the first woman will affect you, your mother. The first man will affect you, your father. So parents are role models for their children. If parents pray, most likely children will pray. If parents lie and swear, most likely children will lie and swear. If parents deceive, most likely the children will be big deceivers. As you water them, as they grow. This is the law of nature. Allah put laws. That's what it is. You can expect to have an angel and you are acting like Iblis or worse. Yeah? Number 4 point. Children need to know that there are limits and they cannot have everything they want. They need something called discipline. You cannot raise children without discipline. Discipline is a must. Discipline is what? Is a must. لا يصلح الناس فوضى لا صراط لهم. People cannot function without having what? A system. And they will learn the system and to respect the system if at home there is a system. Why you go to some nations, they don't want to stop in the red light. They don't want to line up at the hospital or the bank. They don't, because they come from homes where there is no system. Mothers and fathers produce law-abiding citizens or law-breaking citizens. Don't bring love and kindness. She could be the most loving mother in the world. Very kind, very generous, but unorganized and disciplined. Unorganized and disciplined. Things get dirty, they don't clean on the spot. There must be discipline. Where do we learn discipline? From school? No. From mommy and daddy. If daddy throws his jacket and throws the shoes everywhere, the son will exactly look like him. Because he sees his mother picking up the shoes and jacket, and he is going to be exactly like his dad. And he's going to expect his wife to be like his mother. And remember, the first woman he knows is his mother. If his wife does not behave like his mother and tells him, please put your shoes on the racks, he will tell her, you are so rebellious, because he is comparing her in his la shu'ur, in his unconscious, without processing information. It becomes actually in the unconscious. She's a my wife is rebellious. Why? She's telling me things that my mother never said to my father. By the way, this information, there is a difference between information processing versus given truths. Well, we believe this is how it should be. So you don't process it. You saw your mother picking up the shoes and jackets. She never argues with your father. Therefore, when your wife tells you the same thing, you consider her automatically rebellious and grateful. She's nothing close to your mother, because your father has already imposed, has stamped you. That's how you behave. You understand what I'm saying? Unfortunately, this in psychology is one of the, there are many clinical studies, not only in the Muslim environment, they actually did studies of people who are affected by PTSD, post-traumatic disorder. You know, it's a symptom after war, people suffer, you know, PTSD. And then they found that the children who didn't go to war, they saw their parents went to war, they were also affected by the war. So the war events did not only affect the parents, they affected the children. Some of the things they did in these studies, they noticed that the children would not trust at night anybody, and were same behavior of locking the doors and looking through the windows and patrolling has been transferred to the children, which is good, but has been some of the things from war behavior have been transferred to the children. That's how PTSD is very dangerous. And so children doing what their parents, you know, did. Although the children have never seen the war or even witnessed the war, they were born after the war. It's a human nature, whether it's good or bad. They did also study in North America, people who don't bring shoes inside the home, which is a very good thing. There usually are children of parents who come from countries that it is aib, shame, to walk in the house with the shoes, which is good. I like that. And these guys are born, they're American. They're not from Eastern countries. Some of the things which we consider good cultures have been transferred to the children, so they would not walk with their shoes, they would wash their hands at the door before they get in, they would never eat without washing. These are good manners, but without telling the child, children live it and see their parents, they do it. If parents wash their hands before they touch the dishes, the parents will do that, the children will do that. So it's very important to understand, not everything do. You are a role model, and I'll come back to that. Last but not least, if we have time, responsibility is relative. In some culture, the child, as soon as he can, or he reaches what we call sin tamyiz, the age of discerning, 10, 11, 12, he or she has to start making a living, go to the street, go work and help the family, help with the bills. Of course, we know that in Islam it's the age of learning, but because of the social pressure, somebody has to help the father and the mother. So the daughter, by the age of 10, she is cooking, washing, cleaning, helping the mother. In those societies, the mother really has support. And the son goes and helps his father. He may go before his father and open the shop, if it's a workshop, you know, carpentry or any trade, or if it's like store where they sell things, the children already help in that sort of thing. But remember, it has to be relative. You cannot give them big responsibility of making a living. Some societies, because of the pressures, they had to take their children out of school. Where I come from, including my father, you know, his siblings went to school, and my grandfather was going to put him to help him with farming. And he was sneaking to go to school, the opposite to these days. Children want to sneak out of school to go play. My father, he used to sneak out from the farm to go to school. And he had to bring the teachers to threaten my grandfather that if you don't let your son go to school, we're gonna, especially when what we call ta'lim ijbari, that it became compulsory to send the children when they reach the age of 7 to school. When that law came, many people appreciated it. But back then, in a farm, you need help. You need your children. It's a family work, not individual work. So it's not that the parents were mean. Then one of usually the eldest child has to sacrifice, or the last one, usually the eldest or the youngest, gets stuck there in the farm. Sometimes all of them. These are realities. But Islam says, give responsibility to the children according to their age. And be careful, don't overload them, because that could endanger their growth and development. Very important to understand this. So now, let's go back to number 1. Number 1 was, as I have here in my notes, because I really wanted to make this more, we said that children are born the natural way. You don't need to say too much about cheating and lying to a child. He knows lying is bad. The first lie a child makes, he doesn't make it good. It shows that he's lying and he knows he's doing wrong. So at that time you correct them, but don't hit them. All of us have lied somehow. When we were children, some people overdo the punishment. Islam says, with mercy, with forgiveness. People will make mistakes. Oh, I don't want them to be liars. I'll beat them so they will always remember it. No, you will traumatize them. Very important to teach values with love. When it comes to value, put it on a golden tray, because the child will remember those things. Especially what I said last week, up to the age of 7, well, how do we treat them? Who was here? Beta? How do you treat child up to the age of 7? Like a prince. Somebody's listening. Like what? Like a prince. A prince is like somebody higher status than you. So don't take them that serious. After the age of 7, you treat them like? Like a friend. Give them an advice. Do you go and hit your friend? No. You give them advice. However, after the puberty, how do you treat them like? An apprentice. You can scold and yell at the apprentice, but you don't yell. Some people, what they're supposed to do at the age of puberty, they do it before 7, and the child is traumatized. Or after 7, your friend. The child will believe his mother or father between the age of 7 and puberty if they talk to them as friends. They can always go back to them and consult them. They will always find in them advice. But if they fear them, they will never tell them the truth. They will learn double personality. And unfortunately, with so many children, they act like they are good at home. They learn to be shaitan outside and malak or angel inside. Double personality is very, very common in our societies. And actually we did a study. I wouldn't say academic study. I would call it more of observation between children who were born here in North America and children who were born in many of our back homes. We found that the children born here more honest. That's just a side note for parents who are struggling raising children, as we're talking about parenting in this society, that the children here, if they don't like you, they say, I don't like you. The children there, they say, I like you, and say, A'udhu Billah. They learn how to, Bil Arabi we say, play politics, سيس وداري, play and hide. This is a reality. So, let's go back to our topic here, FItrah. And it's important, my brothers and sisters, parents, or soon to be parents, insha'Allah, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is teaching us that don't try to instill in them values that are already in them by yelling them. They already know saying and speaking the truth is good. How did we know that? They were already born with fitra. A child, take any child, 7, 8 years, 9 years old, and say a lie, they will frown at you. Or do something wrong in front, they will frown at you naturally. Naturally. Even if they never learned a lecture or a lesson about speaking the truth. So what you do, emphasize why speaking the truth is good. Give them stories of the prophets, stories of people who speak the truth, the hadith, the Quran, why we speak the truth, just to reinforce what they already have. And number two, which we will see, if this is what they know by nature, and you've told them, you better do it and implement it as a role model. So don't tell them speak the truth. The Quran says we speak the truth, and then when the neighbor knocks the door or somebody, and you tell them I'm not here. Tell them I'm not here. They're gonna go on your behalf and say he's not here. They're gonna come back, Dad, but I lied. What will you tell them? I told you to lie. From that day, they will never trust you. And again, same concept, psychological. They will register it without what we call information processing. Has already entered. Why? Because they call it in psychology clearing. There is a clearing. That's why the fitra, clearing. You stamp it with the first act that translates these teachings, and the act was contradictory to the teaching of speaking the truth. So now here, they know that they can lie, even if the fitra says no, and the text, the Quran, the Prophet. This is very critical. And we say, wallahi, in this city here, I heard non-Muslims, they say wallahi. Have you heard that? Right now, I've seen many Muslims, there seems to be a generation of Muslims from the age of our children, correct, Yasin? I heard many non-Muslims say wallahi. Wallahi means I swear by Allah. Has become here in Toronto a way to tell you it's true, it's true. You heard that? A lot of non-Muslims say wallahi. No, inshallah has been old, but wallahi is a phenomenon, especially among teenagers. They say wallahi. They don't even know about Muslim Islam. It has become now a way of speaking. The new street English. Wallahi has become, what does wallahi mean? It means, trust me, I'm not lying. And they see parents say wallahi, and they are lying. They know when the father or mother say insha'Allah, it means it will never happen. Dad, give me this, inshallah, inshallah. So insha'Allah, for many children means most unlikely will never happen. Just get rid of, take away your face away from me. That means inshallah. You know? I don't have time for you. Inshallah. Can you promise that? Inshallah. What would the children say? That means it will never happen. I heard one child that was laughing. And the father says, inshallah, inshallah. And then the child said to his sister or brother, he said, it's not going to happen. Just forget about it. And I was laughing. I think the child looked at me and he understood. He says, we hear that all the time. You see, inshallah has no more value. Who midgetized inshallah? The father. How? By registering in that clearing, that fitra, disturbing the natural way, but that we say things but we don't do them. This is my problem with this. So number one is fitra. Again, Allah has created children pure, innocent. You guys, we say bari in Arabic, and those of you from South Asia or Turkish or Farsi, you say ma'soom. Ma'soom. In Arabic, ma'soom, it doesn't mean innocent. It means infallible. So just to make it sure you understand. Ma'soom, it doesn't mean bari. But they use ma'soom for what we use in Arabic, bari, innocent. Children are innocent. As a matter of fact, if a child does a sin or mistake, he's not held responsible. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, رفع القلم عن ثلاث. The pen is lifted for 3 people. عن الصبي حتى يحتلم. For a child until he reaches the age of puberty. وعن المجنون حتى يعقل. And majnoon, somebody mentally sick, until he becomes sane-minded. وعن النائم حتى يستيقظ. And for a person who's sleeping until he wakes up. Some people could, they have this, night walking, what they call it, It's people do things, they wake up at night and go places, or they're not fully conscious. It's a very strong debate in jurisprudence, Islamic jurisprudence. Imam Ghazali, in his Al-Mustasfa, and also in Mankhul, he spoke about the actions done by the people who are drunk or under the influence of things, these days drugs, or in a state where the mind is not really stable. Do their actions have, but that's a different topic. A child is not held responsible because he does not have the full intellectual capacity. We call it in usul al-fiqh al-ahliyah. Al-ahliyah, the capacity. He's not responsible. So the parents know, even if they punish that child, as I said earlier, don't overdo it, because they will most likely take vengeance against you by doing it. See how we have to be very careful with punishing. Some parents, for small things, they beat their children. For very small thing. It's not right. There was a beautiful story, if I recall, many years ago. A child played with his father's car, and he had some coin. A child, and he scratched the car. The father comes, who did this? He was told, so and so did. So he started beating that child until broke his bones. He was so angry, so mad, so this. And then he was told, and then he asked the child, why did you scratch the car? He said, I scratched it because the neighbor, some people came at night, stole their car, and I scratch it, so when they come, they see scratch, they won't take your car. See the understanding of a child. He wanted to do good by doing something wrong. He didn't know. The capacity is limited. And then the father fell and cried. Look what his child was trying to achieve for his sake, and he goes and beats him up and probably broke bones of the child. Parents, when they're not up to the task and responsibility, they damage more than fix. You calm down, that child did not mean to cause harm. Example, you have an animal, a horse, a dog, a donkey, breaks your vase or breaks something. Even if you beat the animal or the cat, the poor cat, or you kill it, they don't know their actions. They are animals. You beating them, you're committing a sin. How about a child? He does not know. So unfortunately, we become blinded by the value of that vase or car or object and misunderstand the value of those children. That they are us later. They are the product of what we teach them. And that's why we move to the example, to the number 2. Parents should act as good role models. And if they don't, they pay the price later. We have a beautiful story. I may have mentioned before, but I like that story. They say a man had parents, and the wife died, the mother. So the father moved into the house. And as he became old, had dementia and Alzheimer and this, so he was eating with him and his wife and child. And over dinner, he would once in a while break a plate or two, drop, some of the utensils. So the wife keeps making comments. Oh my God, here he goes again. And so one time he decided to buy a wooden bowl and plate for his father. So at least if the wood fall on the ground, won't break. And then started making noises. He made a table on the side. And when the wife served dinner, she would serve the old man on the side and him and his wife and the children on the other table. The man died. A time passed, so they needed to get rid of his clothes and this. They did maybe yard sale or garage sale. And as they are looking, people come in and looking. The child runs and picks up the wooden bowl and wooden plate and the folding table. And then the parents said, "Why you keep that? We're going to throw it. There's no more grandpa." He says, "I want to keep it. When you guys are old, I can give you this one." See what the parents have registered in their son? This is how you treat an elderly person. Remember, children learn from their parents. And this is why Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyatih." Everyone is in charge, and you're responsible for those whom you're in charge of. Every one of you is a guardian and is responsible for his or her charges. The ruler never harm me. They make me feel secure and safe. A mother hug is very critical. A father who hugs and kisses his children will have his children always around him. Even when he is dying, they'll come from wherever they are. A father never kisses, never show mercy, all nagging and punishing and beating. When he wants his children, they were gone. I know, I'm doing counseling with one brother. His wife left him, his children. So I talked to him. I said, in the beginning, you would assume, oh, the poor, and he's a nice guy. And he's left alone. Sadly, in his 80s, living alone. I said, how was your relationship with your children? He said, well, I did some mistakes. I was harsh. I used to beat them. But I wanted them to be successful. I had a tough life. He did it for not a wrong reason. But he went overboard. Too much beating, They're never enough. Never, he said, I never told them good job. I regret not telling them good job when they got B plus, A minus. Even when they get A plus, I ask them, were you the first? They say, second. Why? I call them Hmar, Baghl, Jamal, call them by the names of animals, donkey. Never motivated them. I said, so when did they stop? He said, once in a while they call me, and I'm afraid they just want to see if I'm still alive or not. Why did your wife leave? Same thing. Never appreciated her. Never told her your food tastes good. That harshness, lack of mercy is very dangerous. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam showed us. And when I do counseling every day, when the father tells me my wife was swearing at me, calling me names, I said, in front of children? He said, yes. She doesn't want my stepson, who is their brother, at home. She says, either me or your son. And she is a Muslim, yes. And she wants me to deny my son from the first marriage. His mother died. She is the second wife. Deny him inheritance and write everything, the house, the business, in their name. This is Hitler. He's married to Hitler. What kind of wives? This is, and I said, it's not only men, women also. Some of them very mean. She's good to her children, but she's so mean to her husband, children, or vice versa. If there is no mercy, life is filled with pain and trauma. People suffer during their marriage, their lives, their career. They become dysfunctional. Allah speaks of mercy, rahmah. When the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Ar-Rahimuna yarhamuhum ar-Rahman, irhamu man fil ardi yarhamukum fis sama'. Those who show mercy, Allah will show them more mercy. Be merciful to those on earth, starting with your own children, your spouse. Allah will show you mercy. The one in heaven will show you mercy. So please, you can read that article. There are many, many examples. Because of the time, I will skip, the beautiful stories I have here. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam led Salat, and his grandchildren, Hassan and Hussein, would climb his back and he would accommodate them. No issues, no yelling. He heard a baby screaming. He made the Salat fast. They said, Ya Rasulullah, it's fast. He said, didn't you hear? Maybe that woman need to attend to her baby. That consideration. It's all about this. That's how rahmah. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We have not sent you except but a mercy to the world. The fourth point, discipline. Unless there is discipline, you cannot have an organized life. Child needs to know there are things that can be tolerated and there are things that cannot. And one of them, discipline, we learn from Salat. After the age of 7 years old, the child should start learning how to do the prayer, learn discipline. You can do this, you cannot do that. But again, using a role model as one, but also information processing, because they don't understand everything. Yes, there is FItrah, but there are things children don't know. Discipline. How you eat. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said they were eating together, and there was a child. He eating from here, from here, from here. First thing, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, wash your hands. I personally, if we're eating and I see you didn't wash your hands, Wallah, I'm not touching that food. And by the way, I look at the restaurants. If they don't wash their hands or they don't look clean, I don't eat. One thing I do when I go to a restaurant, straight to the washrooms. If they are clean, I go. Okay. If the washrooms are dirty, I don't eat in that restaurant. Washroom tells me a lot about the kitchen. This is my way. I'm very, very conscious of cleanliness. If I see someone with nails dirty, I will not eat. That means they didn't take care. Because cleanliness, الطهور شطر الإيمان. How can you eat? And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had high standards of hygiene. He said, يا غلام سم الله وكل بيمينك وكل مما يليك. Oh child, say Bismillah first. Eat with your right hand and eat from the section that is in front of you. Don't eat from in front of the people. What do we call that? Discipline. Table manners. Table manners. Elders first, then children, or sometimes children first. There must be a system. Huh? I like, may Allah bless them, in Turkey, one of the cleanest Muslim countries, I have to say, those of you who went to Turkey. Hygiene, the cleanest restaurants, by the way, with all due respect to all of you, the cleanest restaurants, you can clean, as we say in Arabic, وَعْيُونَكُمْ غَمَّضَةً, with your eye closed. They have a system in Turkey of cleanliness. Mamnu', impossible to go to a masjid without socks. They stop you at the masjid. Wear socks, because people go washroom, najasa. You put socks, you make wudu. Mamnu', I like it. If not, they give you socks like we do in this masjid here. You put, why? Washroom, wet, smell, carpet, no windows. Not only that, if they see someone dirty, they say, are you coming to masjid? They'll give you a blouse to cover yourself. You talk to other Muslims, who are you to do this? Oh, cleanliness. So the child learns cleanliness. Wash your hands before you come to the masjid. We just come and do salat? No. Wudu. You do wudu without wasting water. Huh? We teach them discipline, respect of water. Wash your hands. Enter the masjid with the right foot. Say salamu alaykum when you come inside the masjid. Don't talk about business. Don't raise your voice over the Quran being read or salat. Huh? Sometimes we're praying here. Please, sisters, please, salat. We don't need, because they don't know. And I understand they're not used to the masjid. You know the sunnah to have your hand clean before you shake hands. The guy's fiddling with his toes, next thing, salamu alaikum. Or he grabs a samosa out of love, eat. I saw you touching your feet. And you want to feed me samosa? The people are good, but no discipline. In Kaaba, near the Kaaba, people, and they throw, ya akhi, I tell him, please pick up your garbage, throw it in the bin. Who are you to tell me? You're going to teach me? Ya akhi, discipline. Isn't this a holy place? Where is this? Where is this? Do it privately. And you talk to them, they too much pride. You can't talk. I stopped because I did it, I got in trouble. Who are you? The driver. I say, ya akhi, either go in this lane or this lane. You're giving me headache. He says, what kind of laws is this? I said, if this guy wants to pass you and you cause him accident, you respond. He says, who told you this? You guys are bringing new fatwas. Ya akhi, common sense. These lanes, either you drive here or drive here. Said, no, I like to have the line in the middle. And I talked to him, he says, oh, you are bringing this new thing, new Islam. They will not understand. A child learns discipline from home. And if he knows that, he will line up. He will wait for his turn. He will be disciplined when he's a ruler. discipline is very important. Haram, we can eat it. Why? It's haram. They go to school, they give them pizza. The child says, I can't. Why? Wallahi. And I'll take a couple more minutes for the sake of many online with us. I know some of you, you're not interested in lecture, you came for salat. Please, just give me 2 minutes. Extremely important. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. What was it? I lost my thought. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان. Yes, a non-Muslim lady came to me, principal. She said, I am not a Muslim. My husband is a Muslim. And I have to admit, your religion has discipline. Salat on time. She said, I have Muslim students, the most well-behaving, alhamdulillah, in my school. And they did not eat pizza. They had some pizza party. When I asked them, they said, we are Muslim, we cannot eat. They said, but it's a cheese pizza. She said, the children said, even cheese pizza, we don't know if the people who made pizza have touched. Parents took them to pizza and told them we can't mix in. See how they learn? It's not about halal haram, it's because of discipline. Non-disciplined child, he just open his mouth and eat. I'm hungry. Discipline is what controls the halal and haram. So if you have that system of discipline, you have a Muslim who is strong in his values. He would not mess with his religion. Discipline, many times with authorities. I talked to the police, I trained the police, RCMP. I did all sensitivity training. Yesterday I was talking to senators about it, to put back the sensitivity. I'm doing now with OPP and others. I teach them when you go to Muslim homes, when you talk to. And you know what they told me? We notice, and this is police officer women, that Muslim men are disciplined. They would not gaze, they lower. I said, this is because they are taught to lower their gaze. You don't stare at a woman, it's respect. She said, we appreciate that. Police officers told me that. Discipline. Some of us, we went to Muslim homes, there is peace, respect. These are values we need to uphold so the child grows in that. He goes outside, there is no discipline. He goes home, there is discipline. In military, they teach them discipline, you know, but sometimes you learn bad things also from other fellow soldiers. When you bring that, people say, I like Muhammad. Muhammad is really disciplined. I have many stories, time is not our side. But we're talking here about parenting and item number 4, and I wrap up. Remember I said it may not. So what do we need to? Children need to know there is always the red line. But don't make it too thick and don't make it once in a while. We can't go there. Why? It's haram. What is haram? Haram will make Allah not happy with us. Remember what I said last week? The language of children we use? Happy. Happy what? Clean and nice. Those 3 keywords in pedagogy. Okay? Versus angry, sad, dirty. Okay? Remember that? And mean. Those are the pedagogy to use in parenting. Okay? And the last but not least is what I said earlier. Don't give them too much responsibilities. First thing is they learn discipline, and overloading the children, and I spoke enough, with too many responsibilities can be overwhelming. And as we say in Arabic, الضغط يولد الانفجار. Too much pressure leads to explosion. So in psychology, too much overloading children, whether with teachings or rules or responsibilities, it has to be done. What needs to be done before 7? What needs to be done between 7 and puberty? And after the age of puberty, what you can do now, at the age what we call it beta, after puberty, age of apprenticeship. Then they learn responsibilities. Inshallah, unfortunately, we're not taking questions again today. Topic is very important. Please keep your questions. Next week I will answer, inshallah. I know a lot of people are asking questions online. Forgive me. These people want to pray and go. I don't want to hold them here. And inshallah, because we are in a masjid, we'll continue with the parenting and with our guests in the next few weeks. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ولك وصلي اللهم وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.